Hi there! This video will not have that much visuals. You can more or less just listen to it in the background, because I'm just gonna do a speed paint and, well, I'm not as professional of a painter as some other people are, so you're gonna see me do a lot of mistakes and erase a bunch of stuff and yeah. But yeah, you have read the title unless you have clicked on this video without reading for some reason. But yeah, I am going to rank some sapphic ships in the Dcla show from the bottom to the top. And to do this ranking was pretty hard because there are some of the ships like that are scrambled around in the middle that I always like change my mind on. So a ship that I put on like number 14, maybe tomorrow I decide actually they should be at like number 17 or something like that. It was also hard to like coming up with all the ships because when it comes to non-canon ships in general, sometimes you can just like spin a wheel and just smack two characters that like have barely any chemistry and say, now you two should kiss. And the thing is with non-canon ships, especially in Dcla shows, is that how small they may be, you will find content if you want to find it. And some of the ships don't necessarily have much in canon, it's just the idea of them together that is appealing. The ones on this list is ones that I have seen people talk about or have intrigued me. Some ships that I have seen or noticed but didn't include on this list. One was Amanda and Sharon, and I have only seen one fan art of like Amanda longing for Sharon, but despite that I have like never thought about it, so it didn't get to be included on the list. And also Jasmine and Jam, which I thought about for a second in a scene where Jam was like giggling joyfully at something that Jasmine said. And that was that. I never thought about it again, so it wasn't included on this list either. But what I want to say with that is that it can be so easy to like randomly start shipping stuff just because you saw one thing. As mentioned, I considered Jasmine and Jam for a second, but only for a brief second, and then I forgot about it because it was only that specific scene. But yeah, you can essentially just pair up anyone with anyone, and you can make it work if you so choose to. Now, the reason why I chose the sapphic ship, the girl/girl ships, is simply because I found them way more interesting than the male/male ships, and I also find the girls easier to ship with each other. Also, I know that some Dcla fans very much want to have some of the female characters straight and get a little annoyed when people say otherwise, and if any of those people are watching this video, I just want to say, me shipping two female characters together will not at all change anything in canon. They still ended up with boys in canon, or they ended up single, but my silly little non-canon ship will not change anything at all. And if you for whatever reason feel mad about it, maybe you should go ask yourself, what about it is making you so mad? It's fictional characters at the end of the day. What has someone's sexuality headcanon or someone's non-canon ship done that makes you so mad? So like, calm down. Anyway, I think we should start with the ranking before I blabber too much. I also want to say this is my opinions, and also I want to say some of these pairings I think that some of you would just say, wow, I didn't even consider that a ship, and yeah, some of these I didn't either. Also, before we begin, I realized in the middle of recording now that there was one ship that I completely forgot about, but can be fun to mention because it's the only crossover ship that I will mention, and that is Priscilla and Sharon. And I just want to say about that quickly that I kinda like the idea of them like marrying each other just because they will be two evils ruining the world. But it would also lead to Ambar and Ludmilla like trauma bonding. So I think it would be an interesting concept. But anyway, I forgot to include them in my list. So sorry about that. Now onto the actual list. At the very bottom, at number 26, we have Ludmilla and Violetta. And the reason why this is at the bottom is because they are sisters. But also because I didn't even get the appeal before they became stepsisters, so... Okay, I'm gonna explain the history I have with this ship. Back in the early fandom days, when the only show I had watched was Violetta and the only thing I was interested in was Violetta, so I watched a bunch of Violetta videos on YouTube and stuff. Mostly people talked about canon ships, and I did too, because I was like 12 and I didn't even consider that non-canon ships existed, and neither did many others because we were all like 12. But non-canon ships have always existed, and the biggest two in like 2015 were Diego and Leon and Ludmilla and Violetta. And Diego and Leon, me at like age 13, were like, yeah, I get it. But with Ludmilla and Violetta, this was at the time where I had watched season 3. So when I saw that people ship them, I was like, well, but they are sisters though. I think what really got people intrigued with this ship was the CS por Amor music video. And I would argue that the CS por Amor music video is one of the most like queer-coded music videos in all of Violetta, but I have changed my perception of why that is, because for a very long time I thought of it as like maybe Ludmilla had a crush on Violetta and the CS por Amor was like her finally getting over her feelings, so then in season 3 she didn't have any feelings for her anymore and then they became platonic sisters. But now, the way I see it is that it's in Ludmilla's head, it's Ludmilla that imagines the music video, and in my headcanons, I know that some people think of Ludmilla as straight, and that's okay because I guess she is quote-unquote straight in the show, but in my headcanons, she is a closeted lesbian. And so Violetta in the music video represents the part of her that wants to come out, or maybe the part of her that is like, you can't hide from it. Everyone knows. Just look around, everyone knows who you are. Just come out and say it. And Ludmilla is not ready, so she runs away from it, but she's afraid that it's visible everywhere. And obviously this may sound like a weird take, because I think in canon what really happens is that Ludmilla is afraid that Violetta wants to steal her spotlight, but it is fun to do queer readings of things, okay? But anyway, I have never really gotten the appeal of Ludmilla and Violetta at all. Number 25 is Luna and Ambar, and that is the same thing there. They're related. Not by blood, but they explicitly call each other cousins in season 3, so it would be pretty awkward to ship them. And I am going to confess something. I think many of you already know this, but I very openly shipped them romantically up until season 3. And that was because I didn't know. And in season 1, there was so many moments where I was like, oh my god, Luna and Ambar sure have a vibe, especially because they lived in the same house, so like they had a lot of tension going on, and I was like, oh my god, Ambar sure is obsessed with Luna. She watches her sleep, she needs to be super close to her at all times. And like, obviously I figured out from like episode 1 that Luna was Sharon's biological niece. Like, the show doesn't really keep that a mystery. For me, it's more like we are just waiting for everyone else to find out, because I think as a viewer, you kind of figure it out already in the first episode. But with Ambar, I legitimately thought for the first season that she actually had parents that lived overseas, or that there was something going on with her parents. I legitimately believed that Sharon was her godmother. I mean, I saw her mom in season 1 and I realized, okay, that is Ambar's mom, but I more saw it as like maybe Sharon like took Ambar from them and lied to Ambar that her parents were overseas, but in actuality her parents have wanted to take her back this whole time and Sharon hasn't let them because she wanted Amber for herself, because maybe Sharon wanted a child, but because she didn't have anyone to have a child with, she took Amber from them. And then in season 2, when Sharon revealed that actually she adopted Amber very long ago, I was like, oh, okay, that was actually a plot twist I didn't see coming. But even then, it took me to season 3 to like fully process that this would mean that Luna and Amber are cousins. And then season 3 hit me in the face with them calling each other cousins all the time, to really like put the nail down that they are related, so don't even try to ship them. And still to this day, when I rewatch episodes of season 1 and some episodes in season 2, I can still like feel the vibes, but I put these at the bottom to shame myself because they are related. Stop it. Get some help. So yeah, that was my shame spiral and my awkward confession. I used to ship Luna and Amber, and my only defense is that I didn't know. But now I do know, and I promise I love their platonic cousin relationship too. Next one is Bia and Pixie from Bia. The thing with this one is that I always thought from the start that Pixie had a crush on Bia. Like from episode 1, I was like, okay, she likes her. But here's the thing. It may seem that I just think every character ever is queer in these shows, but that's actually not true. Because I have a hard time seeing Bia as anything other than straight. Which means that while I think that Pixie absolutely has a crush on her, I think it's one-sided. They were the only Bia pairing that I chose to draw, because all the Bia couples on this list I won't have much to say about, because I like the ships from the other shows a lot more, and I don't have that much to say about the other Bia ships on this list, sadly, so I didn't feel like drawing them. But I thought I could draw this because I thought it was funny. It's Pixie playing on like her little Nintendo Switch and Bia cheering her on, and Pixie's blushing, but it's one-sided because I have an arrow here that says Bia is straight. We will always have a discussion in the Dcla fandom who is the token straight of the main characters, and we disagree a lot, but the only thing we agree on is that it's not Luna. Next on the list is Camilla and Violetta, and the reason this is so low is because I can only see them as friends. Here's the thing. A lot of my favorite non-canon ships are like best friends to lovers. So I can see two best friends that are very close and I'm like, okay, now they're gay. But for people that don't ship them, sometimes I feel like they might think that I just see two girls and decide now you're in love with each other, but that's not true. Sometimes I just see friendship, and that's what I see with Camilla and Violetta. They have a great relationship, but they're only friends. And the same thing can be said to Camilla and Francesca, which is on number 22 on this list. I think that Camilla and Francesca also are only friends. They are a bit higher on the list because I think I can get the appeal with Camilla and Francesca more than Camilla and Violetta, but for me, I just see them as friends. Number 21 on the ship list is Chiara and Celeste from Bia. This is one of those ships that I feel will change if I just rewatched Bia. The thing is though, Bia is not out in my country, even though they have Swedish subtitles. So like, why not just release it here? I don't understand. It's been 3 years. Anyway, this means that I can only watch Bia if I have a VPN. And VPNs are expensive. I mean, I guess there are free VPNs, but I don't really know how free VPNs work, and I get too tired trying to learn. which means that I only use VPNs that I pay for, and I can't always afford to pay for a VPN, so sometimes I have to cancel my subscription of it. But what I'm saying is that if I happen to rewatch Bia sometime, maybe Kiara and Celeste would be placed higher, but now they are at place 21 because I just remember them as friends, and I love them as friends, and they can be super cute. But yeah, meh. On number 20 we have Delphi and Emma. Do you remember Emma? She was like in 5 episodes in season 3. And I think that's why this ship is so down on the list, because I got limited time with Emma and Delphi's relationship. The relationship were pretty cute, and I love the idea that some people have that Delphi later goes to the UK and get together with Emma. But I feel like I saw too little of it to really have a strong opinion on it. Next is Francesca and Anna. Anna is referring to the crazy ex that Marco had in season 2 that came from Mexico. What is this running theme with crazy exes from Mexico coming to get back together with their ex-boyfriend and hating on their current girlfriend / love interest? I don't understand. Why is this a running theme? It has happened 2 times in 2 different Dcla issues. Anyway, I kind of like the idea of Anna trying to seduce Francesca, and Francesca getting kind of into her, but also confusing the feeling with jealousy and loathing. I mean, I really saw the appeal in that scene where Francesca is singing Ser Mejor in the park, and Anna comes up out of nowhere and starts singing with her, and then sits down and stares into Francesca's soul, and Francesca gets a bisexual panic and doesn't really know what to do. And yeah, for me it's just the appeal of what if Anna tried to seduce Francesca? I can mention the same thing can be mentioned about Daniela in Soluna. What if Daniela, instead of trying to get with Simone, tried to date Simone to get Luna jealous because she actually had a crush on Luna and didn't know how to handle it. And Luna is the worst at romantic social cues, so she certainly did not know this either. I don't have Daniela and Luna on this list, but I just randomly came up with it now. You see, as mentioned, it's very easy to just get reminded of new pairings every now and then while you talk. Anyway, next on the list is Mara and Carmine from Bia. I do get the appeal of these two. They feel like the perfect best friends to enemies to lovers. And I definitely felt like there was some tension between them. However, I have not watched Bia for over a year, and it's not so easy for me to just watch it, so that's why it's ranked lower. On number 17, we have Celeste and Trish. So Trish is a podcaster that Celeste was completely obsessed with in season 2, and then she finally met Trish and she immediately had a gay panic. And you know what? Maybe they can form some sort of relationship if they hung out a little more, but I feel like after Trish was introduced, they just kind of didn't let her show up anymore, which was kind of a bummer. I will say though, the way they portrayed Celeste, I think that maybe they actually were going to make her queer, but then the pandemic happened and then we never got a season 3 and they wrapped up the whole show super weirdly. But yeah, that being said, I can totally see Celeste and Trish in the future getting closer and starting a relationship when they are a little older. Next on our list, number 16, is Jasmine and Emilia. So in the show, Emilia and Jasmine have this weird internet fight at the end of season 2 where they always reply to each other via uploads on YouTube, and it's so fun seeing them have a beef of 12-year-olds. They can't just leave each other alone. They need to constantly beef and mock each other. Emilia has to watch every video that Jasmine uploads, even though she claims that she hates Jasmine. And Jasmine has to come and insult Emilia every time she's near her for some reason. It's also the appeal of the bubbly girl and the angsty gut girl. Yeah, I get it. Number 15 is Delphi and Jasmine. This one is one of those where I'm like, I see them as friends, but also maybe, but also I see them as friends, but also, Last time I saw an episode of season 3, I had this like running joke that Jim and Jam thought that Delphi and Jasmine might be dating, and they are like trying to figure it out, and then it's that sleepover scene where Delphi and Jasmine for some reason are like snuggled up on the couch, sharing a blanket, and I'm like, what is happening right now? So I can see some vibes, but only sometimes. Like, there's other scenes where I'm like, I don't see anything. So they are really back and forth for me. Number 14, we have Jim and Luna. Now, this one at first was hard for me to see, but like, I am starting to get it. I think the main appeal of Jim and Luna is that they both are pretty similar. They both have a pretty like bubbly personality. Both of them are one of the people on the team that are the most interested in roller skating, even though Jim also has a bigger interest in dancing, I think. It's hard to explain, but like, I get the appeal. Next one is one that I think may sound a little weird, because this is one of those ships that sounds like I just spin a wheel and pick 2 characters, but I promise it was not. And that is Jam and Ambar. So I will explain myself. Jam and Ambar both share a place as my favorite characters in Sir Luna. And I thought about, it's really funny that my 2 favorite characters are very different, they have very different storylines. Also, I kind of wish that they interacted more than what they did, because they really don't interact in a lot of scenes at all. I actually recall a very specific scene when Jam and Ambar are alone at the lockers, and Ambar comments on the fact that they never talk, so I don't know. And so I started like spinning ideas. What would happen if they interacted more? What if they got locked in a room together? What would they talk about? 2 characters that rarely talk and have completely different personalities and wouldn't really be friends. But what if they were forced to talk for like several hours? What if they, for some reason, formed a relationship? A pairing no one would predict. And that is how I convinced myself to start to sort of ship them. It's lying more in the concept than what actual canon gives me with these 2. Number 12 on our list is Violetta and Lara. Way before I shipped Violetta with my most liked queer ship for her, I shipped her with Lara. And I don't so much anymore, but they still have a soft spot for me. Of course, the main thing about them is like, they both like the same guy, so why don't they kiss each other instead, haha. But there's more than that. I think Lara might have caused Violetta's bisexual awakening when she sang Voi por ti at the karaoke bar, because when Violetta comes up to her afterwards, she's all flustered, super nervous to talk to her, and I feel like something awakened in Violetta that night. And Lara also has her thing where she's nervous to talk to Violetta, because every time she wants to talk to Violetta, especially at the studio, she has this thing where she kind of chickens out for a moment and then like takes up courage and goes up to talk to Violetta. And yeah, I just think that there may be something there. Number 11 on the list is Jade and Angie. So this ship I absolutely get the appeal of, because both of them in canon are in love with Germain, and Germain does not deserve either of them. But the 2 ladies, maybe if they got to know each other better, and maybe if they became friends and trauma bonded over how bad Germain is as a person, maybe they eventually fall in love with each other. I mean, Jade got a pretty solid endgame. Angie absolutely did not get a good endgame. Could the 2 have ended up with each other? It would have been pretty nice. I especially get the appeal in season 3, where Jade tries to be like civil with Angie and even like inviting her to her wedding and stuff. And also their conversation at Priscilla and Germain's wedding. God, that scene alone, like, it made me really, really get it. I am, however, a little more obsessed with another female/female ship for Angie. Number 10, we have Ambar and Nina. So this one I was very unsure where I wanted to place it, because like I originally intended to place it lower, and then I looked at the other ships and I was like, nah. So yeah, this is number 10, which actually surprised me, considering that I haven't even considered this ship for that long. And I'm gonna say right off the bat, it's all thanks to my friend Turtle. She was a guest on this channel a month ago, and a while ago she commissioned me to write her a fanfiction with these two, and as I was writing that said fanfiction, I like got into the ship myself more, and I think this ship is a very good example on how easy it is to get the whole fandom into a non-canon ship, because it just needs to have one person say, hey, what about this pairing? And suddenly a lot of people are on board. Not always, but a lot of these previous ships, especially Jasmine and Amelia and also Jade and Angie, I don't even think I would consider if it weren't for other people. Sometimes you just gotta open someone's eyes. And of course it doesn't always work. I mean, I have seen plenty of people ship Camilla with Francesca and Violetta, and I still don't see it myself. But yeah, there's other ships where you mention it and I'm like, oh my god, you're kinda right. I rewatched some episodes from season 3 lately, and I noticed that I started to see some moments between Amber and Nina that I didn't at all see before, and I was like, okay, I guess I am starting to get into this now, ? And I am completely okay with that. This just made my viewing even more fun, because when you see more non-canon ships, your viewing gets even more fun. I'm gonna talk about that more when we come to some higher rankings on this list, because some of these non-canon ships, once you start seeing it, you can't unsee it, and it's so fun to rewatch the show with those new glasses, because suddenly scenes have a brand new meaning. Okay, number 9 is Angie and Jackie. So as I've said before, Angie and Jackie were exes. I am so convinced of it. And that is because the way especially Jackie just acts as soon as Angie starts talking to her. Jackie just seems so mad at her for no reason. And Angie is doing the bare minimum. Angie just exists in a room and Jackie seems mad at her. And maybe canon wants to frame it as, look, there's another female teacher now, so Angie and Jackie feel threatened because when there's two women in a room they have to fight or something. Like, no, I feel like there's something more. Also, there are scenes where Angie legitimately bites her lip as she's talking to Jackie. And Jackie's like, sure, whatever. I also think that Jackie is such an interesting character, and I wish they explored more with her, because imagine if she stayed in season 3. Imagine the kind of relationship she and Angie would have then. There's so much missed potential. But yeah, I'm obsessed with them, and I love them being like bitter exes that kind of haven't gotten over each other, but they don't know how to handle it, and also they don't want anyone to know that they are exes. And it feels like at any moment they might just go make out in a closet just to like get the last steam out. God, I found this pairing so interesting. On number 8 we have Anna and Mora. So the writers totally wanted them to actually be in love with each other, right? Like, you don't just make a plot about someone being super nervous about moving in with their best friend and making a whole deal out of it. They didn't have to do that, but they did. I can like totally picture that during the time that Anna was together with Ricardo, she and Mora like got more close and close every year one day Nina comes home from school and Anna and Mora are just like super intimately cuddling on the couch, and she doesn't bat an eye. And Ricardo also doesn't bat an eye because he doesn't have a gaydar. But I think Anna realizing her sexuality was a reason that she and Ricardo divorced. That, and they probably argued a lot. And I really wish Mora was like in more episodes in season 3 because I wanted more of the relationship. We didn't get super much in season 1. In season 2 it was perfect, and then in season 3 Mora just left and it was sad. I want more of the lesbian moms, okay? Number 7, we have Ambar and Emilia. They got girlfriends. I definitely think that they hooked up in between season 2 and season 3, and in the beginning of season 3 they have a sort of like fling relationship where they aren't dating per se, but they definitely get some steam off with each other in Ambar's room, and that's why Emilia is so much in Ambar's room and they so intimately dance to rock music. And yeah, I think they had a lot of fun in Ambar's room. I especially love the scene where Emilia puts on Ambar's old clothes and Ambar gets like slightly turned on in a way that she almost gets unfocused to what she's doing. I love them a lot. Number 6, we have Luna and Nina, and I'm surprised that they made it this far up. Yeah, I think I just have gotten more into them recently than what I did a year ago. So that's why I'm also not surprised that they are this far up. I have been so back and forth with them, and that is mainly because there are a lot of episodes where I just feel like they're only friends, and I don't think more about that. But then there are these moments that just stick out to me. I mean, I've talked so much about Mora secretly thinking that they are dating, and it's all these sprinkled moments in especially season 1 where Nina says things that out of context sounds pretty queer. It's Luna telling Matteo and Amber that she's going on a date with Nina. It's Luna kneeling down like she's going to propose in the last episode and like gives Nina a love confession. Also, I have started to have a fun theory that besides Luna's mom, I think that other characters also may theorize that they are dating, because in season 2 they are very secretive when other people walk into the room, and besides Monica, Amber at several moments walk in on them being super suspicious. So I am also wondering, does Amber also theorize if they are dating? Maybe someone else also thinks that. I actually have just a running joke that a lot of people think that they are dating when they aren't, but it could also be fun if they in that process just like start dating. I mean, both of them also got terrible endgames, so they should have gotten together with each other instead if there were no other options for them. And yes, if this is your first video of me, I have been very vocal that I don't like Luna's endgame that much, which is both a controversial and also not controversial at the same time, because I feel like the fandom is very half-half when it comes to main character ships, except with Bia. I think a majority likes Bia and Manuel together, but with the other Dcla main character ships, I feel like with the endgame couple, either you hate it or you love it, and there's nothing in between. Anyway, Luna and Nina are just so sweet, and I honestly keep finding new scenes with them. They hang out a lot in the show, so I'm gonna find new scenes that I didn't notice before. With my top 5 coming up, I feel like you can predict which ship will be on which spots, but let's see. On number 5 we have Camilla and Ludmilla. And they are the classic, are they gonna fight or are they gonna kiss? We don't know, but they seem to be extremely obsessed with each other. It is also the ship that Mechi herself has joked will be canon. So like, if there's any ship here that could be canon, it's that ship, because one actress said so. Number 4 on my list is Nati and Camilla. I am not going to talk about episode 77 of season 3 again when Camilla wanted to practice the kissing scene with Nati, even though it's always the scene I want to talk about the most. But to try to say something new, or I guess when it comes to D-ship at the top, I have said everything 100 times and I will say it again because you know what? I can. I think in season 3 that Camilla and Nati dated. And I know what you're saying. They dated their boyfriends in season 3. I don't care. Nati and Maxi randomly broke up for a while there, and even though Broadway and Camilla were the only couple that didn't break up in season 3 somehow, they argued constantly. And again, Camilla did not even want to practice the kissing scene with him, her actual boyfriend. She rather wanted to practice the kissing scene with other people, including Nati. And they probably kissed off screen. Also, I have noticed watching the show, Camilla, at times seems to encourage Nati to break up with Maxi. And I don't really know why that is, because Maxi is also her friend, so what the fuck? Unless she is jealous and she wants Nati for herself. I am very obsessed with them. And then number 3 we have Ludmilla and Nati. And to some people that don't like Ludmilla and Nati, I just want to say to you that they are the most popular tag chip on the Violetta tag on AO3. So I just thought that you should know that. People are very obsessed with them. And for good reason, because as I mentioned, this is one of the ships where once you see it, you can absolutely not unsee it. They just have so many scenes, and I constantly find new ones. The way I started shipping them was some years ago when I rewatched the show, and I was kind of like, hey, what if the reason Nati keeps hanging around Ludmilla even though she's mean is because she has a crush on her? And then it expanded to me realizing, hey, Ludmilla literally cannot function without Nati. Oh my god, they have crushes on each other and they don't know how to handle it because Ludmilla is a closeted lesbian and Nati, I think, has realized she's a lesbian, but she's also a disaster who does not know how to handle a crush. Suddenly, every single scene with Ludmilla and Nati became so much more fun. Because as a kid, when you watch the show, you don't really analyze it. So you sit there like, Ludmilla is mean, she's mean to Nati, and Nati shouldn't be her friend, and that's all you think about. But then when you start to analyze it, you're like, oh my god, this bitch is gay. Good for them, good for them. I'm sorry, I don't know what that voice was. But yeah, a lot of people are obsessed with them. And it's one of those things that many people, especially those who rewatch the show when they grow up, it's one of the first things they realize that, holy shit, this show is really gay, and especially Ludmilla and Nati. And there are some people that are mad about that for some reason, and for me, I am wondering why. It's a non-canon ship. It does not affect canon. Just let people enjoy their ships. And you can enjoy yours. And honestly, I think that both Ludmilla and Federico and Nati and Maxi are pretty fine ships. I shipped them when I was younger. And I still think that they have a lot of cute moments. It's just that I think personally that Ludmilla and Nati are lesbians. And I can absolutely see the appeal of them being bisexual or pansexual. It's just, for me personally, I get more of a lesbian vibe with them. So yeah, I really think that they deserve a 3rd place because they are just that iconic. So let's go to my 2 very obvious number 2 and number 1 ship. Number 2 we have Jim and Jam, and what am I supposed to say that I already haven't said? Well, I have a 2-hour video if you want to check that out. But yeah, something I can say is that I started watching Soy Luna in 2021, and from the second I started watching the show, I just immediately felt sapphic vibes between these two. I never for a second believed that they liked boys. I didn't feel any chemistry with any of their male love interests. And I think, especially regarding Ramiro, I feel like people really pushed Jam into liking him. I never really felt that she actually loved him. I feel like people just convinced her that he likes you, so you must like him back. But then the second they started dating, she seemed to find every excuse to be able to break up with him again. Meanwhile, she sings love songs to Jim on stage, and the two always prioritize each other's friendship over any boy. And I think that they actually dated in the show, which I will go through in my 2-hour video. I also like giving them attention, because even if a big chunk of the fandom agreed that they are girlfriends and that they are lesbians and so on, they don't give them a lot of attention. And that is mostly because they are side characters, and yeah, I get it. The main character's plot is so much more interesting. The Jim and Jam's plot is very mild and goofy and not so serious in comparison with what the main characters are going through. However, I still to this day cannot fathom how, when I started reading Soy Luna fanfiction in 2021, that there was not a single Jim and Jam fic that was romantic. I had to write one myself because there was none, and now there are a few, but back in 2021 it was none, and I don't get it. I thought at least someone would write one, but no. Nope. So yeah, that's also why I love giving them attention, because I like giving attention to the underdogs. I mean, they're not exactly underdogs, but as mentioned, because they aren't main characters, they aren't as interesting, and I absolutely get that. But that's why I want to give them attention too. Okay, and finally, number 1, Francesca and Violetta. Yeah, I have also made a 2-hour video about them, and I just sound like a broken record when I talk about them in these videos, because I just want to say that I love them, and I love them, and I love them, and I love them. Yeah, it's hard to talk about the ships at the top, because I have talked about them so much. Meanwhile, the ships at the bottom and the ships in the middle, I can say more about because I rarely talk about them, so then I can give more opinions. But the ones at the top, I just turn into a gooey, gushy mess. And I just... Yeah, there's something about Francesca and Violetta that just makes my heart flutter. They make me so soft, and they are so important to me. I'm also extremely protective over them, and I think that's because I have such strong feelings about them that sometimes I just get too emotional about them. Gosh, they make me insane. Well, that was all of the ships, and there's a lot of other ships I could have mentioned, because there's a lot of pairings you could bring up. I didn't bring up the threesomes. I didn't bring up some smaller ships that I remembered while I was recording also existed. And yeah, enjoy my drawing I did here. I did a bunch of pairings, not all of the pairings, because I can't draw all 26 of them, but I did draw a lot that, yeah, I just think are neat. Please leave a comment of which your favorite female/female ships are. It doesn't have to be 26, it can just be 10 or 9 or 5 or 100 if you somehow manage to think about every single pairing ever. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.